Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about one of my favorite things, meatballs. And let me tell you, there's really not a wrong meatball. Everybody makes their meatballs differently and they all come out great. My mother, she uses all veal and pork. My dad, he only uses pork and beef. My grandmother, who's 92, all beef. And you know something? I love them all. I love everybody's meatballs. Oh, no. My mother fries her meatballs. My father broils his meatballs. I don't know why, but you know something? I love them. When I roll into Florida, the first thing I say, Dad, you got the meatballs? My mother, she uses all wet bread. My father, he uses all dried breadcrumbs. There's 1,000 ways to make meatballs. But what I've done over the years is I watched and I learned and I listened. And what I did is I made a hybrid meatball of all of their recipes. And I think it's the best meatball. Now I know my mother's gonna watch this and Ma, I love you. But that fine line of where the student has become the master may have taken over. So today, I'm gonna give you my meatball recipe. Okay guys, we're talking ingredients here. What I do is I buy a tri-mix, okay? I buy the package that says meatball, meatloaf mix. It's 33% beef, it's 33% pork, it's 33% veal. I found over the years, this is the best way to go. It's the easiest way to go, and for me, it tastes the best. We have a half a cup of finely chopped parsley. I have a half a teaspoon of pepper. I have 2 teaspoons of salt, a half a cup of dried Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, a half a cup of grated parmesan cheese, 3 eggs, and about 16 cloves of garlic. What I'm going to do with that garlic is I'm going to grate half of it with the garlic grating dish. Now those of you who haven't seen it, I suggest you go back and watch my warm pasta and famous garlic grating dish episode so you can get the whole story of this dish. So I'm going to grate half of that garlic and I'm going to chop the other half. So the meatball not only has the mush from the garlic grating dish, but it also has those finely chopped pieces. I've always found the best way is to have both. Alright guys, here we are. The garlic grating dish. And for those of you, like I said, who haven't seen that episode, you're going to want to see it. You're going to want to learn all about this dish because like I said, it's fabulous. What it does to garlic, there's almost no explanation for, because this mush, it solidifies into everything that you put it in. And you know what this is? When you're using this garlic grating dish, this is called making it with love, because the average person, they're not going to do this. You know, you're going to open up your jar of Freshman's garlic, you're going to take a couple of spoons, you're going to throw it in there. This takes time. This is when you say it's made with love, this is where the love comes from. Things like this right here. Okay guys, here we are with the ingredients. In goes that garlic, half chopped, half mashed. Here's our half a teaspoon of black pepper. Here's our 2 teaspoons of salt. Here's our half a cup of dried Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. A half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. A half a cup of finely chopped parsley. And what I like to do before I add the eggs, I actually like to give them a quick little scramble. This way here I'm not fighting the yolk. Just a quick scramble like that. And that's good enough. And now, like I said, the hybrid meatball. I use wet bread and dried breadcrumbs, okay? Now, a lot of people have never seen the wet bread, and when my wife first saw it, she looked at me and went, "What are you doing?" I went, "You like my meatballs? Leave me alone." This is the way it is, okay? You get yourself some warm water. There's 6 slices of regular old white bread. Crust is cut off, okay? And you let that sit there. And what you're gonna do is, you're gonna take it bit by bit and wring it out and get it in the bowl. Basically turns to mush. Alright, take a little handful of it. Get it over the sink. Work it around. Give it a squeeze. Get all of that out of there. Sometimes I'll even open it up, go to the outside, another little squeeze. I know, guys, people look at this and they go, what the hell are you doing? Well, listen, this is going to make one of the softest meatballs you've ever had. Alright, work it around like a little ball there, give it the squeeze. Flip it over, another little squeeze. In it goes. Alright, we'll get one more out of this. Now, the important thing, when you're mixing this, and you gotta mix it by hand, you can't mix it with a spoon, this bread is gonna love to clump. And as you're mixing, you have to make sure when you get those clumps, you get them in between your fingers and you really squish them. Because the last thing you want is to have a big lump of bread in your meatball. Okay? And this is going to take a few minutes. It's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it. And this is like a squeeze, twist, and rotate kind of thing. See, stuff's going to be flying all over the place. Land to get a little dirty here. Alright, and you can see how you get those clumps of bread right there? You got to actually get them in your fingers and squish them down so that they're gone. And also, you got to look out for those pockets of non-flavored meat. You really gotta squish and twist and mix this really good. See that white? You don't want that. That'll come out in a meatball and someone will get that and it'll be an off texture. That's looking pretty good. No clumps. Even the grated cheese, sometimes you get little clumps in there. You gotta find clumps of cheese. Make sure you don't have any clumps of anything. Bread, cheese, nothing. The last thing you want is clumps in your meatballs. Okay, I'm gonna wash up and then we're gonna start rolling. Okay, here we are. Olive oil, very important, okay? I use Filippo Berio. My mother, she uses Bertolli. Make sure you buy a good olive oil, okay? Cheap olive oil is not the way to go. When you're frying a meatball, it's almost like a half deep fry. It's not a shallow oil bed like you're frying a cutlet. You want that oil to be about halfway up the meatball. So about that much. About that much in the pan. So when you submerge all those meatballs in the oil, they'll be about halfway. Okay? For the rolling, people say, how big do you make your meatballs? Do you use a spoon? Do you weigh them? No. Over the years, I watched my mother roll meatballs. Okay, and of course I would say, Ma, how much is that? You guys know the answer. It's about that much. And of course my mother, she would scrutinize my meatballs terribly. She would look at them and go, why is that one lopsided? That one's too big. That one's too small. Fix that one. So of course over the years, you learn to make a perfect meatball. You really don't want to squish them too tight. You don't want them to become tough. Now see that meatball right there? My mother would immediately look at that meatball and go, that's too big. Fix that. So, you know, there's a fine line between the right size meatball. But what you do want is you want to cook them fully in the oil. A lot of people don't cook their meatballs fully and they put them in the gravy and they say they're going to cook the rest of the way. I like to cook mine fully because you know something? Sometimes the meatballs coming out of that oil, after they cool for about 3 to 5 minutes, those are some of the best eats right out of the pan. So I like to cook mine fully in case I just want to snack on them like bonbons. And there they are. So this is a single batch, 2 pounds with those ingredients. Typically, I'll make a triple batch. If I'm doing meatballs, I'm normally frying 75, 80 meatballs. You can figure this batch is going to get you somewhere between 20 and 25 depending on how big you roll them. But if you're going through all this trouble, I would suggest you make a triple batch. Because what I do is, I don't put them in the gravy, I bag them and I freeze them. And then when you want to use them, you take them out, put them in your gravy for a half hour, which we're certainly going to do when I'm done. And then you have them for later use. So I'm going to roll all these up, I'm going to heat up that oil, and we'll be back. Okay guys, I give the oil a little flick, we're ready to roll, and in they go. And of course, like I said, exactly 25 meatballs from that batch. And what I like to do is, because they sit, they get a flat edge, so I give them just a little roll before they go in, just to get rid of that little flat edge they have from sitting on the cutting board too long. Now, when you're dealing with meatballs in the pan, I got 2 spoons there, because you can't grab these with the tongs until they're at least halfway cooked, or you'll just squish them. So you gotta move them around with the 2 spoons, at least until you flip them over for the first time. Alright, there we go. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Alright guys, now we're talking about evenly cooked meatballs. And of course the ones in the center, because they're closer to the burner, they cook quicker than the ones on the outside. So I like to do kind of a little flip. I take the one from the inside, put it on the outside. I try to pick the biggest ones, slide them to the center, because we all want them to be very even when you're ready to flip them. And then the ones that I've left, I give a little spin. And like I said, you got to be gentle with the 2 spoons, because they're still very soft. Once we flip them over and they have a crust on one side, then we can start using the tongs. But right now, you got to use the 2 spoons. And of course, right here, you know what this is. This is the red gold. And if you haven't seen the secret of the Italian gravy recipe, I suggest you go back and watch it. Because just like I said when I was making chicken parmesan, if you don't have this, you don't have anything. If you're putting your meatballs in gravy that you just opened from a jar, they're not going to be any good. So if you haven't seen it, go back, watch the secret to the Italian gravy, because you definitely need that with those meatballs. Okay guys, this batch is ready. And you see there? Oh, nice. Brown all around. That's the way to go. Give it a little tap there. Get your excess oil off. Nice. Okay, and of course, the next part is a harsh reality. Everything has a harsh reality. And this is kind of reality cooking, so to speak. So, when you're done cooking your meatballs, you're left with that, okay? You definitely do not want to start your next batch of meatballs with that in your pan. So, all that slag, whatever you want to call it, you got to get rid of that, because this leaves little black pieces that are going to stick to your meatball, and you definitely don't want any of that in your next batch. Alright, take that, get rid of it right in the sink there. I go back again, I try to get as much as I can. You're never going to get all of it. You're never going to get all of it, but you want to get most of it, because this is what leaves those little black balls all over your meatballs, and you don't want that. Alright, so when we're clean enough right there, yeah, one more piece. There we go. Okay. Now, we're ready for the next batch. And like I said, you got to give it a little roll, because they're flat from sitting there so long. Alright, and there's our second batch, ready to roll. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Oh, look at the steam coming out. All that parsley in there, garlic. It's delicious. I told you, sometimes the best meatballs, right out of the bowl. Alright guys, while this second batch is frying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, I don't know, about 8 or 10 of these meatballs into my poppin' gravy over here. Because at the end, we're going to give you a final product that you are just going to die for. Alright, so I'm going to put those in. I'm going to give them a stir, and we're going to let them simmer in that gravy, I don't know, at least 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, we'll come back, we'll give them a check for tenderness, and we'll see how they are. Oh, if you guys could only smell this right now. Unbelievable in the Live, Laugh, and Cook Italian kitchen. Alright guys, we're ready. Oh boy, look at that. And a little cheese on top. Guys, that's the stuff dreams are made of right there. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this meatball episode. Don't forget to subscribe to my page for more great recipes, and I'll see you next time on Live, Laugh, and Cook Italian. This is definitely the best part. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Try this recipe. I'm dying to find out how you made out.